Here we go. Welcome to the American Forked podcast. Woo-hoo! This is Phil coming to you live from a studio in a basement. It's a garage.
It's a 9th story basement.
Yeah.
It's on the top floor, but it is a basement still.
I'm joined by my buddy Jeff here. You can hear his voice.
I'm the other voice that's not Phil.
You can hear it. So good. American Forked is a podcast where we try to fix America's problems by talking them out. Because.
And our success rate is 1,000%.
Yeah, 1,000%.
We're always successful.
Exactly. We all grew up together in American Fork, Utah. So we like to talk about the news in American Fork. And the big news right now is Steel Days is coming up.
Heyo.
If you're unfamiliar with American Fork, Utah, used to be the home of Geneva Steel. Mm-hmm. Or I guess ultimately not really, because wasn't that over in Linden or Pleasant Grove?
Technically, yeah. But I think there's a lot of people employed by the steel mill in American Fork, and so they celebrated Steel Days. Probably started as like a company picnic. I don't know.
Oh, maybe American Fork was first, and then like Pleasant Grove is like an offshoot, like Cedar Hills.
Yeah, maybe. So, I don't know.
I don't know either. But anyway, Steel Days is coming up. July.
Are you going to go?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's July 5th through the 9th. So you've got the 4th of July on a Monday.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest of that week is Steel Days. So just take the whole week off because you don't need to work anyway. Let's face it, you're probably not working.
Yeah. That's right, Phil. Nobody works.
Well, yeah, they're listening to this, so.
I know. If you're listening to this, it's proven that you don't have a job. Or you're retired from your job.
Exactly.
That's also cool.
That's what I always say.
What's your favorite part of Steel Days?
Not going.
I love that this is the story, and then it sounds like you're like completely not in support of it at all.
No, it's a good time. My kids like doing it. I just can't ride any of the rides.
Motion sick?
Yeah, they're not motion sickness friendly type rides.
Typically, it's the exact opposite. Like they try and get you to throw up and be dizzy and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. You're not down with the clown. You're not down with that.
No.
Oh,
I'm not. And in fact, I've told this story before, but I believe I've thrown up on 2 different rides at that very same carnival that they do for Steel Days.
For dramatic effect, I think the best rides to throw up on are ones that just spin in a circle.
Uh-huh.
Because you're going to come back around to the place where you threw up.
Yeah.
And there's something about that that's kind of gross.
Yeah, I think you said that the last time I told this story.
I'm going to say it every time you tell this story.
Okay. No, I think it was on the zipper where you turn laterally.
Yeah, we did talk about that. But the gravitron that spins around in a circle,
right?
The zipper is like 17 different circles all combined into one, plus a rickety bolt.
Yeah.
But the gravitron that just spins you in a circle, if you saw someone throw up in that, the vomit would like exit their mouth 1 inch and then just come back on their face.
Ew.
That would be miserable.
Ew. We started this podcast off with some yucky throw up.
Yeah, did you want to settle it down with some murder stories or?
No murder today.
Oh.
Thank goodness. But we got a lot of like search and rescue type stuff going on.
Oh, some other downers.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a rescue that happened in dramatic rescue of 19 hikers from a Utah canyon.
19?
19. So there were 2 adults and 17 kids as like a scout group.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't even know much of that was going on in Utah
Boy
these
Scouts?
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're down there. So this is kind of interesting because I do some canyoneering, and so I know a little bit about canyons in Utah. And the canyon that they were found in is the canyon that you never go to. It's called Sandthrax. No joke.
You never go to, nor do you mail it to anybody.
No, but it's very notoriously like extremely difficult, even for like borderline pro level climbers and canyoneers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's in fact the accounts I've read of people who do go into it, and these are like pro
Yeah.
canyoneers. it's a very difficult, like they get stuck. They have to like drill bolts to get out. Somebody's got to free climb like 80 feet. Like it's a rough canyon. And I say that because I don't think you went on this trip, but I think a bunch of us went down to this canyon called Leprechaun Canyon. And we took kind of a south turn and looked down into this canyon. And I remember thinking, like, we were all talking, like, is this the way? We weren't sure because we hadn't done the canyon before. And we looked down in it. And I was like, well, I can throw a rope down there and we can go down, but I just don't know if we can get back out. It's a good thing we didn't, because we probably wouldn't have.
You would have been like these Boy Scouts, getting helicoptered out.
Right. Except like where we didn't tell anyone where we were going. We would probably just eat each other.
Just Donner Party day 2.
Yeah, and then get our hands stuck in a rock and like have to sever it.
Saw it off with a dull Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
The problem, I'm guessing, is that gravity's on your side, so it's easy to get into these canyons. But then when it comes to getting out, it's just too tricky, too crazy to traverse, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just imagine like a lizard falling in a bucket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can drop in there just fine.
Yeah, I don't understand the analogy.
He can't climb out because it's a bucket.
But we're people.
Yeah, we're people. So if you rappel down into a giant bucket, it's too hard to climb out.
Nobody's making buckets that size, though. I'm not understanding your analogy.
Sandthrax Canyon is like a bucket. Anyway.
Did giants make it?
They sent search and rescue in and plopped them right out of there.
That's good.
Yeah. So there were a bunch of them. But they said the slot they were stuck in was about 110 to 130 feet.
Wow. That's a big bucket.
With a lot of rock overhang. So
that's like the sides of the bucket are going straight up and then they curve in towards the bucket. That's an overhang.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
so really difficult to get out of there. What these guys, it could have been a situation like where we went, where they were trying to do a different canyon and ended up going down the wrong way. I'm hoping they weren't dumb enough to say, hey, let's go do the hardest canyon we can find.
How hard could it be?
Yeah. So anyway, and I know that because I subscribe to a website called climbutah.com. The guy that runs it, Shane Burrows, he does a really good job. He details pretty much like every canyon and hike in the state. A lot of the hikes we've done in Utah, I get off of there.
Oh, cool.
But he's the one that, like, Sandthrax, warning, like the pages that
do not enter.
Yeah, do not enter, and tells the stories of like the 2 times he's been in there. One, when he accidentally went in and it was like really difficult to get out. And the next time he took like a like all rock climbers with him pretty much. Like, let's go see if there's a good way to do this. And they did get out, but they were like,
don't do that.
Stay away from this canyon, pretty much, even if you're really good at what you're doing. So
it makes me wonder what's at the bottom of that canyon. Animals, people, like stuff that's, I don't know, just if it's
sand.
that hard to get out.
Just sand.
Yeah, but if you started digging around.
Like a deer fell in or something.
Right, or, I don't know, a cat.
A chest of gold cougarans,
yeah. From South Africa.
South Africa. Anyway, glad all those Boy Scouts are safe. Pretty gnarly. Don't ever hike Sandthrax Canyon.
I'd say anything that sounds about like that, just stay away from it.
Yeah, it's located. So if you go to Hanksville,
why are you telling people where it's at? You just said stay away from it.
Hanksville, you head south toward Bullfrog, about halfway between Hanksville and Bullfrog. There's all those slot canyons on the east side of the road. And it's one of those. I think it's the furthest south canyon in that group.
Cool. Thanks to your directions.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one will get stuck in it.
So don't go in the furthest south one.
Yep.
Make sure you know where you're going. If you're going to go out, do slot canyons, make sure you have a GPS. Because back in the good old days, we didn't do that. We just shot from the hip and almost dropped into Sandthrax. So
yeah.
Thank goodness.
Good advice from Phil.
You're welcome. Anyway, On to some national news. Dr. Anthony Fauci has tested positive for COVID. Oh.
But it's not as bad as it would have been, is probably the story, right?
That's probably true, right?
I don't know.
COVID like a year ago was worse than it is now.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. People that are fully vaxxed and boosted and triusted or whatever the words are, the claim is they get COVID and then they're like, well, it was not as bad because I'm vaccinated. Yes, I got it, but the experience wasn't as bad. The symptoms weren't as bad, blah, blah, blah. Which Jake always gets triggered by that because he's like, you can't scientifically prove that it would have been worse or better if you were or weren't vaccinated.
Right. Well, I guess they would say of the people who have been vaccinated, fewer of them get really sick. So versus the people who aren't.
Yeah.
So that would say, at least in theory, that's probably due to it helping out a bit. But
I'm telling you, if Jake's listening right now, he's
beside himself.
So upset with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if Beagle's listening, he's upset with you.
I knew that.
Oh, okay.
I know that. Sorry, Beagle, for whatever I did.
Thanks a lot, Beagle. Anyway, so Fauci has COVID. Not really big news, other than everyone's ultimately going to get it. Is that pretty much what we've decided? So just might as well live your life, and when you get it, you get it. Right?
You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Exactly.
You need to put money in the COVID jar.
Here we go.
Is that the whole story?
Yeah, that was it. I don't know if there's anything more to say.
Well, I don't know. That seems like about it.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's been taken this long. But maybe if he's held up. I guess Biden hasn't got it yet, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm not as doctor.
He seems like one that would have a hard time with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
You're not a doctor?
No.
Oh, you didn't go to
I'm so over COVID. Can you not tell?
You didn't go to Harvard?
I'm done.
You don't even want to talk about it ever again?
Nope.
I would like to do an episode on
remember COVID?
The effects of COVID, why we ruined our economy for COVID. That'd be a good one, right?
Yeah, that's like a conspiracy theory episode.
I don't know how it's a conspiracy theory.
Is it this episode? Because I'll start telling you.
Okay, tell me.
There are a lot of people that I've heard, some in person and some on the interwebs, that, and I'm going to be very high level about this.
The government wanted to make it.
Basically, they're trying to collapse the economy, so that they can introduce a solution. Because you create a problem and then you introduce a solution.
Our money's no good anymore.
Which it's really coming that way. Just today, didn't the feds raise the percentage,
interest rate?
0.75%, which is the highest increase in a million years.
It seems like even
since the dinosaurs.
It seems like even that is way too slow. I don't know why they didn't jack it up 5%.
And that's basically what they're saying. We should have started this basically last year.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm getting at, and without getting into details because I haven't researched it recently, but I've picked up here and there that's kind of the idea is let's take down world powers meaning America, by creating a financial problem, crisis, whatever you want to call it, and not having people work and pumping trillions of dollars into the economy is a really cool way to do that. No one's working, no one's making money. One person, and seriously, I haven't researched this at all. This is just kind of things I've picked up on. But one person gave this example. In a lifetime, the average person contributes about $2 million into the economy of valuable, exchangeable labor, goods, whatever. $2 million, okay? Let's say if the federal government pumps in trillions and trillions of dollars, they just wiped off the production required from that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the way that they were bringing it up, and I haven't really thought this through myself fully, but the idea was because they pumped so much money, they basically made productive people obsolete to a certain number. Right? And so they don't have to really do anything to contribute to the economy because the economy already has that money produced. But it's fake. It's not backed by anything. and so it creates an unstable environment.
Yeah.
Was the idea. So that's kind of the conspiracy theory that I've heard, is that it's being done on purpose, because when you look in hindsight, you're like, yeah, we kind of overreacted to this COVID thing. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just like, crap. I think there was this idea, remember when everyone was talking about universal basic income and how great that's going to be?
Yeah.
And then they tried kind of a version of that for like 3 months. Where they paid out everyone's child tax credit.
Oh, yeah.
For just 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And already we're seeing crazy inflation.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and you don't hear nobody's saying, oh, we need universal basic income now.
Right. See, and I think that I think it's more calculated than that, but that's the conspiracy theorist in me.
Yeah. I kind of lean towards
someone effed up.
No,
or they tried something and it didn't really work.
Just this mentality that the U.S. economy is too strong to fail. Like you can throw whatever you want at it. You can start, we can shut the whole economy down and pretty much bail out every business in the country for a couple months, like pay wages for all the employees.
But this flies in the face of that, is that it wasn't just America. Other countries shut down. Other countries gave out money. Other countries did things.
Well, and I'm not sure. I know the UK, I don't believe, gave out a lot of money.
But they still shut things down. And when I say gave out a lot of money, I don't mean to the individuals. I mean stimulus stuff to help companies that were shutting down, and loans for people that were they basically created money and stopped production.
Right.
And most westernized countries, I think that happened.
Huh. That'd be interesting.
Australia, I believe, did. The UK. I mean, anyone that had a stay-at-home order, think about it. They did something to make that occur.
Yeah, I don't know, because other countries, like the United States, constitutionally, if they ordered you to stay home, they would have to compensate you, because I believe in the Constitution it says something, blah, blah, blah.
Thou shalt something.
Thou shalt not. If the government takes your land, they have to pay you for it, essentially, in a nutshell. Like, so if they take your job, they have to pay for it. If they take your house. So if they're telling you can't work, then they've got to provide that income, in theory, which I think is why they did that so readily.
Yeah. Because they're like, oh, we'll just pay.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it still has to pass through the House and Senate and everything. But so countries and territories with lockdowns. Argentina, I mean, it lists off a whole bunch of them.
No, I know a lot of people locked down, but did they compensate people for it?
Great question. I don't see how they could have required people to stay at home without some sort of compensation.
Well, because they're crappy places to live.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Or maybe it's crappy to get compensation.
But anyway, we know that whatever we did in the last couple of years, it's looking really bad for our economy. Yellowstone is flooding. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, they've got like roads washing away and houses and
bridges,
all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, they had to. Speaking of rescues, search and rescue stuff, they had to bring people out of Yellowstone or parts of Yellowstone because they couldn't exit. I think on the north entrance mostly.
Yeah, people couldn't get in or out. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So that's been going on, and that was pretty much the week we went backpacking, which could have easily been Yellowstone. Yeah. So glad we did it last year instead of this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been wild up there.
Apparently they have all the water.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that it's from Canada. They drove down into Utah, and I talked to him today in person. But he was saying that he brought his river raft on. He has like this little one-man fishing river raft thing,
Yeah.
He brought that with him on the drive because he wanted to float one of the rivers on the way down, and it's in northern Idaho, I think it is. He said that the water is so high on that river, they wouldn't let anyone put any boats in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that they're having that problem up north of us. And then, the water just doesn't quite make it to us, I guess.
Well, yeah. On the flip side of that, for some reason, Lake Mead videos have been popping up on my YouTube, like fishermen in Lake Mead, and they're saying that unless they have a really big truck, people are no longer able to launch because the slope of the ramp down that low or whatever, it's pretty much they have to like submerge the whole back end of their truck to get a boat in there or anything. And that's just within the last week or so that the water's gotten so low that people can't even get in and out of there.
Well, hopefully some of that Yellowstone water will make its way down to us.
Yeah, maybe it'll make its way down there.
Fill it right up.
Yeah, I don't even know where that water goes. It doesn't flow down to Flaming Gorge, does it?
I don't know. Water systems. But it is north of us, so I guess it does?
Yeah, because north flows to south, which is downhill.
Water flows downhill, so from north to south.
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward.
North is the top of the world, and south is down on the flat part.
If you got a map on the ground and you pick it up, which end's going to be up?
Exactly.
North. So the water will drip off the bottom of the map.
Right. So speaking of up there in the northern Yellowstone area, Idaho had their own KKK invasion or something like that. Did you hear about this?
You're the reporter, so I don't know something like that.
So I guess they were having a gay pride event or parade or something.
I did actually hear about this.
And I guess they picked up like 13 some odd number of white nationalists, I believe they were called.
Is that the rebranding of the KKK?
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that what we used to call them? KKK people?
I call them real assholes. That's what I call them.
Yeah. I guess so.
Is this the one that I saw an image of like a bunch of people? I want to say they were kids, but they could have been any age. And they were all dressed alike, and they all had face coverings, and they all had hats, and they all had shirts. Was this the one? They all caught in like a U-Haul?
Yeah, I think they were dressed more like military, like kind of thing. Not like straight up military, but like I guess how I would picture a Navy SEAL dresses, like a casual militaristic, like cargo pants with I don't know.
A Navy SEAL at Target or at Walmart? What are you talking about?
Let's look at them. I'm telling you, they were like kind of military dressed. White nationalist,
Duck, go.
Idaho gay thing.
You are so insensitive.
Idaho officers getting death threats after arresting 31 Patriot Front.
Oh, yeah, this is the ones I saw.
So they kind of look like, where'd it go? It was just there.
They are in uniform. Why don't you describe what they're wearing, Phil? Because you're a fashionista.
Well, I got to pull it up here.
I'll show you.
They look like what my dad would wear when he went to like a police training.
Yeah, they've got like tan military boots.
Yeah.
Khaki pants.
And they're all wearing like matching long sleeve shirts. For some reason, they have white hood things on, which might be more the KKK.
It's a white face mask.
Yeah.
It's not a hood
It's like is it a face mask?
Yeah.
It's like a turtleneck face mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, but like it hides from their neck up to their eyeballs, basically.
Yeah. Anyway, these guys got caught wanting to start a riot at this gay pride event.
Good.
So they're all arrested now. 31 of them, I guess. There's quite a few of them.
Holy crap, that's a lot. You know what? I've been to the gay pride. I don't think it's called gay pride now. It used to be called a gay pride parade, but I think it's called LGBTQ whatever parade. I don't know. But here in Salt Lake, and I'm telling you, it's a fun time.
Yeah.
It is so much fun. People with these attitudes, like they're going to go to a celebration and stop it. Like, let's just let them celebrate.
Yeah.
Come on. What's your problem, man?
Yeah, I don't know what their deal was, but apparently they're arrested. So we'll see where that plays out. I don't know why, gay pride would be a simple name. This LGBTQ
plus
IA thing is getting out of hand. They need to just come up with like a shape. Like
an upside down triangle?
Yeah.
That's what it used to be.
Oh, really?
Well, that meant gay and lesbian, I think.
Oh, really?
And I'm talking like old, yeah, an upside down triangle.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then they took refracted light, and then it was like, are you guys just Pink Floyd fans? Because they got the triangle and
the rainbow.
Yeah, if you ever see a pink triangle.
Why don't they just call it the Rainbow Group? Like,
why don't they call it Reading Rainbow?
Yeah, Reading Rainbow. I don't know. It's just like every little new thing, we got to include that, so we got to tack on a letter. Let's just come up with a thing that includes everyone in the world.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a comedian, I don't remember who it was. I wish I could credit them, but stories like this remind me of them. Anytime white, like KKK stories or white supremacy stories come out of northern Idaho, this always comes up. So he comes up, he's talking, he's like, hey, I got a real me and my wife have this thing in our house that we hang bananas on. And it's cool because it tricks the bananas into thinking that they're still hanging in the tree, and it keeps them fresh.
Oh, yeah.
So we started experimenting with some other ways to trick our food into staying fresh.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do, and this is the comedian talking, he goes, one of the things I do is I bury my potatoes in my kitchen and I stage white like KKK meetings to make them think they're still in Idaho.
I get it. So that would have been a recent joke.
It was actually very old. It's old.
Oh.
It's an older, not like...
Are there a lot of white supremacist stuff in Idaho?
That's what it's known for.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, I don't know this for sure, but whenever I hear about northern Idaho, which is where this story took place, right?
Yeah.
And when I say northern, I mean there's a pretty substantial mountain range right in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just pass through northern Idaho. It's fairly remote.
Yeah.
Like, the main parts of Idaho go up a quarter to half of the state north. So if you go beyond that, you got to try to get up there. So it's a pretty remote space, and I don't know why that's happened, but someone correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something that they're known for. And it's unfortunate because it's actually a very beautiful place. So
yeah, that is too bad that all those idiots live up there. Because Idaho is really nice. No. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't know they were known for that. Anyway, China has... I didn't know this, but China now has the world's largest radio telescope. I guess it used to.
What is that?
Radio telescopes are the ones that are like gigantic bowls. Like there used to be one in Brazil or something, and
they built a crater.
Yeah, it looks like a giant crater.
Right.
And that one, if you'll remember, just fell over like a year or so ago.
I don't usually keep tabs on that, but yeah.
The
one in the crater fell?
Not in the one like in the jungle. I think it was Arecibo Observatory.
Okay.
But it was like 3 football fields across, and it had this massive like radio tower thing suspended with all these cables.
Huh.
And that thing like came down catastrophically, like fell right down and crushed the bowl thing.
It didn't come down, unfortunately?
No, it was like a cataclysm. Cataclysmically.
Yeah.
Came down. Anyway.
Astrologically.
Anyway, China has the biggest one now, and they claim, this is just breaking news, that they've intercepted interstellar communication from outer space. So if somebody's sending a, quote, tight beam signal, and China just picked it up.
The silence. I'm trying to see if I can hear it.
You're trying to hear the signal?
Yeah. Can we hear it here? Is that what we're doing?
No, you need a big telescope.
Oh, you have to be in China.
Yeah, you have to be in China and point that thing right at...
Exactly somewhere.
Cygnus Alpha or whatever star they're
So it's an audio signal? Or
wavelengths,
it's a radio, or how does this work?
So radio wavelengths are different than audio. It kind of like light.
I'm really interested in this. The reason why is because I'm interested in it.
It's like, do you remember the movie Contact?
Yeah.
Where she's listening to the pulses or whatever.
Yeah, the documentary.
Yeah, the documentary. Uh-huh. I don't think in real life they're listening to pulses. I think it's more like data coming in.
So yeah, you're registering a wavelength that... So here's the question, and this is why I'm so interested, is because it's the first reaction I have is like, nope, it's not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
The reason why is because what's going to decipher it being... Because radio waves are everywhere. Radio waves is not a man-made thing. Like there's X-rays and radio waves. It's an energy transfer.
Right.
So out in space, they're all over the place.
Well, what they're saying, when they say it's a tight beam, they're saying that, like, if you point your telescope like 1 degree off from the star, you get nothing. But if you point it right at that star or right at the point that they're getting it from, they suddenly get this signal coming in. And so they're thinking that's what that means. Now, the caveat to this is I read articles like this all the time. Mm-hmm. Such and such observatory thinks that this is this and this is that. And what it really is the news picks it up as, oh, yeah, they heard aliens. But the scientific community is like, no, that's not. No,
it's just just a different signal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you keep tabs on it because you're hoping that this is the beginning of Independence Day.
Yeah, or contact. They're going to send out a message. We're going to build a machine.
If you were going to play out one of those movies in your life, which one would you play out?
Contact.
Why?
Because people don't die.
Oh, okay.
And the aliens are cool.
Oh, okay.
And people do die, only because of religious zealots.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, remember that?
But that happens in Independence Day, too.
Yeah, that's true. There are all those people like on top
of the skyscraper.
Yeah, and they're like, take us away to Elvis, and then they die.
Take us to Tupac.
Yeah, it's pretty much like no matter if it's aliens, somebody's going to die.
Yeah, it seems that way. So I'm interested. I want to go research that now.
Yeah, I'd like to look into it more. I'd like to do like an alien. We keep talking about it, but we've had all this like alien stuff happening where the government's pretty much like, oh yeah, aliens are real. Or they're at least saying all these things that are unidentified, they really are. We don't know what the heck they are.
Yeah.
So
we should have an episode because it's expansive.
It is expansive.
And it's one of those things that it's like that it's not going away. Like people have been talking about it for such a long time and they're still talking about it, still reporting things, whether it's true or not is not necessarily the interesting part on that. That's an opinion.
Yeah.
The interesting part to me is like there's still accounts. And if you watch like Ancient Aliens, supposedly there's even from the biblical times, there's reports of those types of things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to figure out. But anyway, speaking of space, the James Webb telescope is up and running.
Yeah.
And they're going to release their first full-fledged calibrated scientific selfie on July 12th.
Really?
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to.
That is so cool, actually.
Yeah. It was, I can't remember, I think it was right around Christmas that they launched that thing.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months, huh?
Yeah.
That's what they said it would take to get into place and get all the mirrors adjusted and stuff.
And get going.
I have a feeling that they probably know it's working, and they're like, okay, we're going to get some cool stuff and then release it.
Yeah, they said they'll be in full color, which I didn't realize this before, but like usually when you see an image from NASA of like a galaxy or something like that, it's been doctored up.
To be colored.
Yeah, and they do it in a scientific way. It's not like let's just paint over it, but
purple.
But the original image is usually like a lot fewer tones than we end up seeing. So
they used to do that with regular photos. Like you get your portrait taken and they would actually paint and color it to reflect an actual photo.
Right. And I think that's more or less what they do, but so they're going to be releasing that. The word on the street is that the engineers are blown away by like the people who designed it and what they kind of expected to come back. It's even better than what they hoped for. So,
do you think that they would release that it's less than awesome?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
They probably wouldn't say, "Oh, we just spent $10 billion and it's okay."
Cool.
Yeah. It's all right.
The forward-facing camera is not that great, but the back ones are good.
It's a little bit blurry, but no, but that's exciting. It'll be cool to see. Because if you think back to like Hubble, I don't remember how old we were when Hubble started doing its thing, but the real famous one is where they pointed it at like the darkest spot in the sky, and then they're like just like thousands of galaxies in that one little tiny dot, and we didn't know that before Hubble. So it'd be interesting to find out what new things this might reveal.
Yeah, so Hubble launched on April 24th, 1990.
1990. So we were like...
Good gosh, that means that thing's 30, 32, 33 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. Still working.
And it's still out there, rocking and rolling, huh?
Just like the... what are those ones they launched into deep space? The Voyager and the Voyager 2, I think.
Yeah.
They've been going even longer, and they're still beaming back messages, I guess.
Wow.
One of them, I guess recently, I don't know if it's Voyager 1 or 2, but they said it started doing something that didn't make sense. Like it was saying something about its surroundings that didn't make sense enough to where they think it's malfunctioning now. And I don't know what that means, if it was like I'm underwater or what, but...
I'm going to give you a few more things that were invented in the 90s.
Yeah.
In 1990.
CD-ROMs.
Text messaging.
Oh.
Started in 1992.
Oh.
And that's come a long way, I would say myself. MP3 players.
Was it the 90s? Yeah.
Yep. Do you remember those things, the old ones? They're crazy. The internet.
Yep.
Was in 94 is what this says. No. Published in 1990.
The internet?
You can't have Google or later versions of the PlayStation without the internet. The original proposal was published in 1990, and the title was World Wide Web.
Oh,
It's been around longer than that, but I think when it started going into commercialization and publicly available, because the internet started with universities connecting computers to share information.
Yeah,
and then I don't think it was available to the average person, but
yeah, I don't know either. But
according to
1990,
but also in 1990, I'm sorry. These are like mid-90s. Anyways, my point is a lot of stuff's come a long way since the 90s, like here on Earth. So if I'm sure that the difference between the Hubble and that one is just unbelievably different.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes up. Or if it's just like we can see more of the same stuff, but this is way deeper in space, I guess.
Or the pictures are the same. It's just light years further out or something like that.
It'd be interesting to see like comparisons of the same things, like the Horsehead Nebula or whatever. Like, this is what Hubble looks like. This is what James Webb, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. They know it's better.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, but I don't think it's scientifically worth it. That'd be more of a public relations kind of move, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're saying they already want to build a bigger one of these James Webb things.
Bigger than a tennis court?
Yeah, like the same size, the same style. It'll still go up and like open up like a flower or whatever, but it'll be a lot bigger. I don't know why they don't just fly up to the moon and put something like on the dark side of the moon. That seems like a real good...
Because it's already a military base.
Oh, yeah. Because people already live there.
Yeah, on the dark side. Or it's concave to the... You ever heard that theory?
Oh, on the other side?
The other side's not round. It's like concave.
I haven't heard that.
Because apparently the moon only faces one direction to the Earth.
That's true.
So you never see the dark side. That's why the dark side of the moon term exists.
Yep.
So I've heard that there's military bases back there because no one would ever see it. I've heard there's transformers back there.
Aliens.
And then I've also heard that the moon is like not a ball, but like a
coin.
A bowl, and the bowl is facing Earth. And so the backside's like hollow and flat,
So if you shot a rocket at it and it hit the middle of it, it would take longer than the side, you're saying, because it's a bowl facing you.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a big crater.
I don't even know why someone would think that, but...
I don't know why people think the things they think, but...
I think that people shouldn't be allowed to think sometimes.
Yeah, we should clamp down on that.
We should probably start the thought police.
Or the Ministry of Truth.
The Ministry of Truth.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's actually really...
They tried to do that, just barely.
Yeah, they are.
Biden was saying they're going to create some kind of a ministry to make
He's
sure...
not calling it ministry. That'd be too close.
Make sure that the truth is good. No, what did he call it? It was like a disinformation campaign
yeah.
like against disinformation, something like that.
Disinformation campaign is Italian for the Ministry of Truth.
Oh, that's right.
Fun fact.
That's right.
I know Latin.
Oh.
E pluribus unum.
Oh. Well, anyway, last week we gave you a little teaser of our backpacking trip.
Yes.
We're going to tell you just a little bit more about that because it was a really good time. If you weren't aware, we went backpacking in Redwood National Forest, and we did the Redwood Creek Trail, which follows the Redwood Creek, which is just what it sounds like. It's a creek with a bunch of giant redwoods growing all around it. Yeah. Is that what you would describe it as?
That's picture perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's description.
And by creek, it was a good sized river.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in Utah standards, it's a good size.
It was Provo River.
Yeah, knee depth. It was probably what, 30 yards across, 20 yards across, something like that, knee height. So, and obviously it was fluctuated in length across and depth and stuff as it went around. But
yeah,
so go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so the route we did, we got dropped off. We dropped our van at the Redwood Creek trailhead, and we took a taxi up to the Tall Trees trailhead, which you have to get a permit to even get up there. You have to get a combo to a locked gate to get through there, and you get dropped off up there, and it's about an 800-foot climb down.
Descent
down into this redwood grove, which are these huge redwood trees. I don't know how big around do you think that biggest one was? Probably
well, everyone talks about the biggest one, but I would say on average, I mean, you couldn't fit your arms around any of these trees unless they're babies.
You couldn't fit. I would say you'd need
2 to 3 people for just an average tree there, not even just the big ones.
Oh, yeah, to fit around?
Yeah. That's not even a big one.
Yeah, the big ones, I would say, holding hands, you'd probably need, I don't know.
There was 5 of us, and we barely made it halfway around.
Yeah, well, and we were overlapped a little, so I bet you with 6 to 8 people, you could hold hands and stretch around this thing. But
insane.
Yeah, it's a big tree. Probably, I don't know, some of them are 12 feet in diameter.
Yeah, I don't know how you get the concept across on an audio format of how crazy big these trees are. And I think we should probably release some photos on our Patreon or something, because there's some photos that we have that do give a pretty good perspective of size and overall, what word do I want to? Je ne sais quoi, certain kind of feeling that the whole place gives you. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, we'll have to put some pictures up. If you check out the episode art on our last episode, you'll kind of see us hugging this big tree. But that'd be a good idea. We can throw some up on Patreon, and people can look at them there.
Yeah, it's an amazing place that I was pleasantly surprised. I'll be blunt, and we should probably rewind a little bit on the story, but just the travels to get there, we had a lot of fun on the way there too.
Yeah, it's a hike to get out there. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in America. But it was 14 hours, 15 hours, something like that.
It was a long drive.
It's a long drive. So you go out to Reno and pretty much double that amount of driving, which you wouldn't think it would take you that long to get across California, but it takes just as long to get from the east to the west side of California up north as it does to get from
Salt Lake
to the west side,
the far end of Nevada,
which is quite a bit wider.
But in Nevada and Utah, it's like a runway.
Right.
It's just a straight shot. I mean, there is some hills and turns and stuff, but it's basically 80 miles per hour. I mean, as fast as your car could go, someone could go as that fast. But then once you hit California, it was hill country.
Yeah, in fact, I haven't been out by the Salt Flats very much, but there's a long stretch there. It must be 10, 15 miles where the road is just straight.
Yeah.
Just
no obstacles.
Yeah, drag racing straight. So, yeah, you just kind of fly through Nevada, but you hit California, and we actually went 2 different routes. We went kind of a northern route and then a southern one on the way back, and each route was just a crazy, windy road with ups and downs and climbing over mountains and back down and back up, and it was a rough on my van that was overheating with the air conditioner on. So.
Yeah, and we've got one thing that was really cool about the trip out there was, a couple of years ago, and maybe last year too, was it? The terrible wildfires that we had, and it really affected the Utah air.
Yeah,
and the fires were coming from California.
Yeah,
and we saw some of those fires. I mean, the forests are just a charry mess, and
we saw the effects of those fires.
Right, we didn't see the actual fire,
right?
But the places where the fires took place, that was kind of an eye opener, just because you're like, okay, we were seeing the smoke of that and get just shaking our fist at California, like, damn you guys. But being able to see the immense damage and what happened out there, I don't know why it helped me. I was kind of like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, well, for sure, because it was like so much smoke the last couple summers. But when you look at it, I mean, we were driving for miles and miles past huge forests with big trees, not big like redwoods. We're talking, but big forest trees,
big adult-sized pines, just crisped up, gone.
All of them, for miles and miles, whole mountains of trees just burned away. And we've seen some of that in Utah. There's when you go to like Spanish Fork Canyon, you can see a lot of burn damage, stuff like that. But it was a lot more extensive. It was almost like, if all the trees from Spanish Fork all the way to Price were burned out, it was like that much you were driving by. Tall trees all burned down. One notable place we went to was Redding.
Yeah.
And Redding just seems like a place that's going to go up in flames any second, because the topography of it is like, it's kind of nestled down, and it's got all these hills around it, like tight hills. Like if you get off the road, you're like rock climbing to get up a hill pretty much.
Yeah.
And those hills are covered in bone-dry trees and bone-dry grass all around this place. And it was like 100 degrees. I was legitimately worried while we were driving through there we would be trapped in a forest fire and roast.
Well, your odds are pretty high, because remember I Googled while we were there how many fires history from Redding, California, and it said they have an average of 200 fires per year.
Yeah, in that area.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's like more often than not something's burning.
Yeah, and it looks like it. It looks like God made a tinderbox to start a fire in this place, and people decided to go live there.
Right. It's crazy. And so all the listeners in Redding, like, let's work on moving you out.
Yeah, let's get out of there.
If you can.
And also cut a lot of those trees back or something. They got to make better fire lines. They got to subdivide it somehow, because that whole state's going to be gone if they don't do something in there to manage it better.
Maybe just a giant sprinkling system with all their extra water out there.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's crazy. I will note one other thing, too, that it blew my mind, that going all the way through Nevada and then we hit California, and no joke, even in these small towns, we're running into homeless people.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
They've got a serious problem.
They do have a problem. I mean, it's warm, so that's kind of the problem.
Oh, the problem is that it's nice?
Yeah, like people don't freeze when they go there. Because we have homeless people here, too, in the summer, but if you'll notice, they migrate out.
They go to Redding, California.
They go to Redding, where it's guaranteed to be warm.
And fiery.
One way or the other.
Right.
But
so we finally make it to the trailhead, right?
Yeah.
And we hike in.
We were late because the van overheated. We had to stop and get it repaired. We got into the trailhead as the sun was going down and hiked down this thing. And as you're hiking down, you start seeing bigger and bigger trees.
Yep.
Like we'd stop by one that's like, whoa, that's the biggest tree I've ever seen. Because I haven't been to like the sequoias or anything like that.
Me either.
And turns out that tree was like a tiny little baby compared to what we were going to see. But
yeah,
a lot of trees with like that are hollowed out inside so you can go inside them. A lot of cool wildlife we saw on the trail.
Wildlife that I've never seen. Like slugs are not a thing that you usually see in Utah. I mean, you might if you roll a log over or something and you really hunt for it. But
these were big. They're called banana slugs, apparently. As a sweet little girl we ran into with her family told us. But they were like 6 inches long. They looked like a banana.
Yep.
And
they even would get black spots on them like a banana would.
Yeah.
Some of them were pure yellow.
Yeah.
And others had black spots like it's been sitting on your counter for a while.
Yeah. No green ones, though.
No, that's true.
But we did see, I thought it was a newt, but apparently it was probably a salamander on the trail, kind of writhing around. It looked like a little snake.
I know, it moved like a snake, and I thought it was one. Then I was like, oh, it's a giant worm. I'm like, oh, it has arms.
Yeah, it has arms and legs. So that was pretty crazy. Wild.
We saw crickets that were the size of, I think you said, mice.
Yeah.
No joke, an inch. I mean, with their legs and everything, 2-3 inches.
Yeah. Tons of frogs, tons of toads. It was pretty cool. It's called, I believe it's a temperate rainforest out there, which I didn't realize. I wasn't expecting it to be so lush, like much vegetation and everything, but it's right there by the ocean, so they get a lot of dew or mist or whatever coming in. But,
ocean dew.
The
off-brand Mountain Dew.
Exactly.
And it was very, very humid for me. I'm not used to the humidity, but and if you're wondering what it looks like, just go see where the Ewoks live in Star Wars. Yeah. It looks just like that. Like they probably filmed it there.
Oh, I guarantee they did. Yeah. And yeah, it's awesome. And you get down into the tall trees grove, which we did at night, but we hiked back into it the next day. And
totally worth it. That was good that we backtracked.
Yeah, because they're huge, huge trees. So tall that you have to, at one point we hiked across the river to look, or we didn't go across the river, but out to the river to look back and kind of see how tall they were. Because when you're standing in there by them, you can crink your neck back as far as you can. You still don't you're like, where does it end? It just kind of disappears into space. But
you have to look behind you to see the top of the tree you're standing in front of.
Exactly.
It's so big.
They're super big, super cool. And oddly enough, that wasn't even the coolest part. The coolest part, I think, were the maple trees.
That blew my mind because it's obviously the redwood forest and it's very cool. But while we were hiking at night, we're all hiking with headlamps on. It's from 9:30 or 9 o'clock to like 11 o'clock or something. We hiked in the dark to these places. So we go through this whole redwood area, and then we kind of, all of a sudden the ground cover gets real tall, like above our heads. And we start seeing these trees with moss draping off of them, sometimes a few inches and sometimes a foot or more. This moss just draping off these trees. And at the nighttime, looking at them, it was a little creepy because they were very character-esque. I don't know how else to say it other than it looked like it could be a giant monster.
Yeah, they look like the Mind Flayer in Stranger Things.
Okay.
Giant spider.
No spoilers. Yeah. In the middle of watching it, okay?
Oh. How far back are you?
I'm just kidding. I'm on season 2 when the Mind Flayers kind of a
it's
thing.
like a spidery thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I'm teasing. But yeah, exactly though. We called it the upside down trees.
Yeah.
Or the Louisiana trees just because they look like they're from the most humid, crazy environment ever. So when I saw that at night, I was like, we need to come back through here.
Yeah.
So when we came back through the next day, you can describe them, but it was more impressive to me to look at those trees than the redwoods. The redwoods were cool, don't get me wrong, but I had a certain expectation for the redwoods. I had no expectation in running to these things.
Yeah, they just look otherworldly. They don't look like most trees. The bigger and taller the tree, the bigger the trunk is. But these seem to have smaller trunks, but they grew so high and spread out in so many different directions. It looked like they'd just tip over or something. Right. But they were crazy tall, lots of moss growing all over them. And when the light came in the morning, is just incredible to look at.
We went hiking through that area in a time of morning when the light hit. It was just amazing. And the canopy, kept everything shaded and very lit in a very cool way. There was never direct sunlight, but it was all nice ambient light.
Yeah, as a photographer's dream, because there's no like, it's just very little sunlight even filtering in. It's just enough to light up your picture, and you just take great shots anywhere you go. But it was great, and so that we kind of saw the coolest part right up front, but. We hiked 10 miles in all. We stayed 2 nights. And the rest of the hike was awesome. Like, we passed through a lot of really cool spots and saw a lot of really big redwoods along that hike. And I famously kept saying, I didn't realize we were going to see this much along the rest of the hike, but it pretty much was like 10 miles worth of giant redwoods that you're hiking through.
We started getting through to an area where turn of the century they were logging these redwoods. That was pretty incredible to see as well, because you could kind of see a story. It's unfortunate they took down these beasts, but it was interesting to see the story as well. You'd see these cut off trunks and new large trees. They're still very large trees, but not as big as the stump that was left.
Yeah.
Trees growing around it,
Yeah. They'd grow in like a circle around the original stump. And so you'd have like these kind of little mini groves of these big redwoods growing up.
Yeah, the fellowship.
Yeah, the fellowship of
the fellowship of the
redwood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was very beautiful. We were, the ground cover again was just so thick and lush and beautiful. Then we got to our camp. We hung out by the river one evening, right?
Yeah.
That was fun.
Hung out by the river, had a lot of frogs, which you hear a lot of those on our last episode. The second night we stayed in like more of an established campground, but it wasn't really great. We decided, I think if you're going to go do it, I would just recommend only camping on the sandbars in the river.
Yeah.
You don't have to reserve. Well, you still have to reserve that, but it's a lot easier to get than the campground we reserved. But
we ended up hanging out in the river, just hanging out, playing around, and then we went back up to camp and ate dinner and went to sleep and talked around the fire. It was nice to have a fire because nothing's going to catch on fire there.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If you want to have a fire, you have to reserve an actual campground with a fire ring. But yeah, that was nice. We were kind of joking. We were like, we could just pull these burning logs out of this fire and throw them into the forest.
And they wouldn't catch.
Yeah, it wouldn't catch anything on fire because we had quite a time getting that fire going.
Yeah.
I want to say a good half hour to 45 minutes of blowing, and I even used my little battery-powered
air pump,
air mattress pump to blow air on this thing for a couple of minutes at a time to get these logs to dry out and actually get it going. But once we did, it was a good time sitting around that little fire.
Yeah.
So
it was cool.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute. Jake caught a crawfish. It's just a crawfish hanging out, backing away from me, walking through the water, and Jake just went down and grabbed it. Yep. We should have eaten him.
Yeah, that was a good time watching all the frogs in the pond swim around. That was cool. It was a really good time. So if you're gonna go do it, it's the Redwood. You go to Redwood National Park. It's in the northwest corner of California. It's a hike to get there. You can drive like we did, or I recommend flying.
When you say it's a hike, you mean it's a long drive.
Yeah, so I think that's a Boston thing. It's a hike. That's
a hike.
Yeah, it means it's a long way.
A long distance.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long drive to get there. The hiking was actually pretty short.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the shortest and easiest backpacking trips we've been on.
Right. It's 10 miles. You probably could do it in one day. In a long day, you could just walk it right out. Real easy hike. Little bit up and down at the very beginning. Other than that, it's just flat as could be.
2 or 3 river crossings. But we got there before they put bridges up because they have like these seasonal bridges they put up.
Yeah.
We saw the bridges, but they're just piled up on the bank. So no one had put them in yet. But I've been talking to people in my life, just, clients and coworkers and stuff and employees. And I'm like, you know what? You got to go. You got to go. You've never been, you got to go. Yeah,
it's definitely a bucket list thing. I'm glad I did it. I don't know if I'll ever make it out there again. So just just because, like I said, it's a lot to get there. Even if you fly into Eureka from Utah anyway, there are no direct flights, so you're talking like flying around the country all day to get there. But might be better than driving all day.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool place, and because it's so remote and difficult to get to, I was really impressed with how few people there were there.
Right.
Like the parking lots weren't even set up for maybe more than, I don't know, 40 cars, 50 cars maybe.
Yeah, and there's only like 8 in there.
Yeah.
7, 8.
There's no entrance booth or anything like that. All of the camping and the backcountry permits and everything that we got were free. You just have to reserve them because they kind of control
monitor
how many people go in a given day. But which was really nice. We passed a handful of groups of backpackers, but that was about it. And in California, you kind of think Yosemite and like a 5-mile line of cars getting into the park in the morning, and that kind of thing. But it wasn't like that at all. It was really remote feeling.
The beach was right there too.
Yeah.
If it was nicer weather, we probably would have stopped and ran into the ocean. But it was pretty cold that last day. But
yeah, the beach is right there. Super temperate and mild temperature almost year round. I think it does get quite a bit colder at night, down into the low 40s, high 30s in the winter. But
that's great.
Yeah, in the spring and summer, I mean, you're talking like a high of 65, low of 55 when we were there. Really humid, but it's a nice time. So the Redwood Creek Trail from the Tall Trees Trailhead to the Redwood Creek Trail Trailhead is highly recommended by the American Forked podcast. Is that right?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Would eat again.
Would eat again, except I wouldn't eat again because it's too far away to get to.
Oh.
So it's more like flying to Japan to have sushi at Jiro's.
Yeah.
And then you never go back because it's too far.
That makes sense. But if I'm ever on the 101 on the north end, I might go down just to hike into that grove.
Yeah, it was not well, and apparently there's a lot of other really good hikes and drives in the area. Like if we were to spend more time there, there's a lot to do. We just went and did the one thing, largely to get Beagle to come, but then he got COVID like at the last minute. So,
dang it!
Hope you're still alive, Beagle. I imagine you are.
He is.
So anyway, I hope we fixed America a little bit today.
Did we even try?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, because I think we encouraged more people to go to this backpacking thing.
Yeah,
which
and that would be good for mental health, too.
Yeah.
Get out.
You won't be disappointed. So stick it on your bucket list, Redwood National Park in California. So anyway, hope you had fun. We had fun. It's just the two of us today, but Jake
is a rodeo clown today.
Yeah, Jake's gone to the rodeo. So we'll see you next week when we'll have some more good time. Right? Is that right?
Yes, amigo.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you understand? We recorded this music for Nate and Brandon over at the This Is a Place podcast. Check it out over there on their podcast where we were recently guests talking about American Fork. Also, check it out on patreon.com/AmericanForked.